Good afternoon and a warm welcome. You're watching Education News Network, and today we're going to be discussing a very important topic, that is the long-term repercussions of body shaming a child. And for that, we have with us a panel of eminent educators who will be joining us in this discussion today. So let's welcome our first panelist of the day. We have Ms. Shahista Ismail, the founder director of FloMont World School, Bangalore. We welcome you, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. We then have Ms. Vamsheepriya Amar, the principal of MVJ International School, Bangalore. Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you for being here. Our next panelist is Mrs. Bharti Tanweer, the principal of Gangothri International Public School, Bangalore. Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you. I'm privileged to be part of this.
We then have Ms. Poornima Prabhakar, the managing director of Gigglezz Preschool, Bangalore. Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you for inviting me too.
Thank you all for being here today. So to discuss our topic, may I please invite our first panelist, Ms. Shahista Ismail, to speak on the topic, please.
Thank you, Nithya. I think the topic today is quite a relevant one. And I want to start by saying that, as educators, we know that experiences is what builds a child's personality, right? And children today are a lot more sensitive than what we were when we were growing up. So this particular topic on repercussions of body shaming is something that we must kind of consider very carefully. And I would like to share my inputs on this topic to give some food for thought, right? So firstly, for me, children today are, like I said, extremely sensitive. And as a Montessorian, we are told that early experiences are a very important part of building a child's personality. So it's very important for us to ensure that the kind of experiences we expose our children to, especially when in their formative years, right? These experiences should be relevant and help in building confidence and body image of the children. So some of the tips that I'd like to share that we know as educators and something that we practice and that can be followed at home as well is the role of the adult, right? So when we as educators have children within our classroom, we ensure that we provide positive role models so that they can emulate the same thing as they grow up. So when we praise the children, we praise them on things that they do rather than the way they look. So we need to be very careful about the things that we say to our children. But by being role models in terms of how we speak and what we say to them, we kind of put across a message saying that inclusivity is important. It's important to acknowledge everybody as on an equal footing in terms of how they look, in terms of what they are. And if we are able to do this very early on, then we are already setting an example as far as the children are concerned in terms of accepting everybody around them. Montessori classrooms are all about community and inclusivity. So this is something that we kind of establish very early on. And I would definitely recommend that all parents start from a very early age normalizing how people look and be careful about what you praise. I have also seen in my experience that sometimes parents tend to compare children, that, oh, this child is so cute and that child is, got lovely hair or whatever it is. So these are things that we should be very, very, very careful about. We need to be careful about not comparing children. We need to be careful about the kind of things we praise, moving away from praising physical appearance to things that they do, praising things like, I really like the way you shared your toys with your friend, right? So that kind of praising is extremely encouraged because it builds the right kind of personality. So these are a few things. And another thing that you kind of want to make sure that you don't do is if you find that your own child is indulging in body shaming, you do not immediately bring it to reprimand the child in a way that what you're doing is wrong or what you're doing is not acceptable. Do not do that, because then you're passing a message saying that so the children try to test limits, right? So sometimes they do it basically for attention seeking. So instead of saying don't do this or making a big scene of it, you might want to kind of just say that, yeah, it's all right. So what if that child is short? It doesn't matter, because some children are short, some children are tall, some people are fat, some people are thin.
So the differences need to be normalized.
Yeah, you need to normalize this, that, oh, it's not a taboo to be short. Like, I remember when I was in school, I was always picked on because I was short. And I always used to stand, in the first in line. If the teacher says, make a line, I'll be the first one standing there. And, I just dealt with it throughout my school life. But I remember that, I did have friends who did tell me that, hey, so what? It's all right. It's okay to be short. You're special. That's why you're at the front of the line. So I think the peers and the adults play a very important role in normalizing these things. And we have to understand, like I said, children are extremely sensitive, right? So if you find that your child is kind of indulging in body shaming, you want to stop it as a taboo. You want to kind of ensure that he feels that, okay, this is normal. It's normal for people to be short and thin and fat and whatever. So we need to start with us as adults, posing the right role models. So this is my thoughts on this particular topic.
Thank you, ma'am, for your inputs. I completely agree with what you said about being mindful towards the kind of praises and the kind of comments we pass as adults. Thank you. So, Ms. Vamsheepriya, could you please share your inputs?
Thank you. And thank you once again for having invited me. I think the forum is already set. Body shaming is it plays an important role, especially in destroying a child's personality and mental health. As rightly mentioned by my panelists, name calling of a child for being too fat, too thin, too dark, too blonde, too short, too tall, funny smile or bad teeth, wearing spectacles, bad hair, and etc. Is not something we should be encouraging our kids to do. And we need to role model. Nobody is born perfect. Yet many of us have been bullied at some time or the other in life. Maybe we were not coded, or maybe it was not pronounced, but it has hurt us somewhere or the other, and we grew up with all these biased thoughts. The dilemma is when an adult, especially, when they come and talk about the way they are bullied, I would use the term bullied here, immediately we raise the voice against them. But when a child is body shamed, sometimes it so happens, we pick it up lightly and say, cute joke, or don't think about what that child must be feeling. That is something which we need to avoid. We need to listen to the child, because child being body shamed sometimes can develop what is called as an inferiority complex. And this inferiority complex, as it increases, can be a major disaster in the adolescent age where they are moving into. It is also important sometimes, to understand if you are dissatisfied with your body or you are being body shamed. Sometimes I might be dissatisfied telling that, wow, see how beautiful she looks like, but I don't. I'm not photogenic in my photographs. Maybe my peers are photogenic, etc. That is being dissatisfied with my own self than getting body shamed. So that is a line which we need to draw, whether we are dissatisfied or whether we are body shamed, one thing. And yes, we need to be really careful, because it adds on to the social development of the child as he or she is growing. If he or she is body shamed, then probably it affects even the social development of the child. They may refrain to talk to their peers, and they may refrain to ask anything to the peers, to parents, to teachers, or anybody when they're having any access. Yeah, and one last thing which I would like to say is, instead of having a positive stress in taking up challenges in life, this adds on to a negative stress to the child. That is my take from body shaming. Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am. So, Ms. Bharti, can we hear from you, please?
Thank you, Nitya. Good evening once again to all of you. I was just thinking when Shahista was speaking about the two stories which we have read as children, about the ugly duckling and the Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, in which a certain concept of beauty is put in the child's mind when the child is very, very small. So, like Shahista was saying, that we need to be very mindful. So even when we are narrating some stories which are accepted, which we have heard and we have grown up with, but they might have very negative repercussions, especially in present times. The children are very sensitive to the things and are very absorbing also to whatever is being spoken directly or indirectly. So sometimes they may think in a way which may affect them negatively, because people do have some definite notion in their mind about beauty, that what actually beauty is, whether it is being fair or not being fair, or being tall or being short, or whatever it is.
And these standards sadly are set very early in life.
Yes, they're lovely. they are putting the fairness. They say that being fair is good, indirectly telling that the people who are dark are not that good looking. So beauty is not only outwardly, it is intrinsic also. So when we talk about body shaming, generally we are referring to the physical appearance, whether it is the weight, size, shape, style, clothing choice, or hairstyle, or makeup, when people are being mocked upon certain things, if others think that it is not normal. So what is normal and what is not normal, I think there is a children need to understand that they are good the way they are. Each one of them is special.
And it's inner beauty that matters. And not
it is the inner beauty that matters, but during childhood when they are small, so sometimes those small things prick them hard, which affect them in their adolescence and even when they grow up also. So actually we used to tell our children, we used to tell them a poem which they used to sing with us, that there is no one else like you and there is no one else like me. Each one of is special to God. That's the way it's meant to be.
In fact, you spoke about the stories and the movies. I recently came across a study that said that Disney movies contain the highest number of messages about personal beauty.
Yes.
And the bad characters are always the obese ones. They're evil and all of that. And the good ones are the pretty ones.
Yeah.
So all right. Thank you, ma'am. Ms. Poornima, can we hear from you, please?
Good afternoon, all the dignitaries here, eminent panelists. So according to the research done by Erik Erikson, Theory of Development, says that a child's parents are the first people whom they look up to for the truth. So the parents' attitude towards their child may impact the way the child feels about their body. As a parent, it is very easy to shame the kids. Like things we do, like, do you really want to go out looking like that? You let your teammates down during that play or a game. Why can't you get good grades like your sister? Why do you hang out at home all the time instead of going out like other kids? Why are you crying? It's not that bad. So as we blurt out such things, we usually don't think of them as shaming. We think them as something that might help our child recognize a problem and motivate them to change. We think that as a constructive criticism. There is a thin line between criticism and shaming. And shaming is a bad idea because what is being shamed is a part of child's identity. Sometimes like clothing choices, especially for the teens. So it's how and with whom the child chooses to spend their time. This will affect the child's personality and mental health. Shaming may make a child feel like they cannot change. Rather than motivating them, it may make them feel like they aren't capable. So shaming will make our children feel bad about themselves when the people you love the most and whose opinion matters most say bad things about you. It can be more than hurtful, in ways that can become integral and permanent. So when an adult, especially women, is body shamed, we think it is a negative, and we take it as a negative thing and raise a voice against it. But when a child is body shamed, we often take it lightly and say it's a cute joke. And don't think about what the child must be feeling from inside. Early childhood plays a big part in self-esteem, building self-esteem in kids. One of the main factors contributing to body dissatisfaction in adulthood is family dynamics during childhood. The result can be seen in the form of an increasing number of cosmetic surgeries and other surgical procedures worldwide, especially in developed countries. So children sometimes cannot change what is being shammed. But not everyone is a star student or athlete. We all make mistakes despite our best effort. Some children are more sensitive and introverted than others. So teachers play a very important role as well when the child goes to schools. So school also plays an important role in cultivating the personality and building the self-esteem in kids. It's also important to mention a difference between being only dissatisfied with the body and body shamed. Individuals who are dissatisfied with their bodies but were never shamed, while others in their childhood are only fighting with one aspect, that is feeling shortcoming in their body. But individuals who are shamed for it by others in their childhood are not just fighting with their physical shortcoming, they also think there is some defect in their entire self, which is so destructive for them. Kids who are body shamed in school are less likely to make friends and remain isolated. Kids may be reluctant to socialize and speak less, trying not to be in the center of attention.
Body shaming
Will harm and affect social development of child as well. When they grow up as an adult, they may become defensive too.
The confidence is affected and they are prone to develop certain disorders as well, right?
Yes. They they go under depression.
Right.
So yeah, so people take them for granted. So the kids who are have less self-esteem will be allowing other people to take them for granted.
body shaming
Also lower the level of confidence in a child. From that, other issues can develop like eating disorders, low self-esteem, and depression, as I said earlier.
Thank you, ma'am, for sharing your thoughts. Thanks. Moving on to our questions, I think I'll start with Ms. Poornima. Ma'am, is there a right age to inculcate body positivity in a child?
Yes, I feel early childhood is the best age for starting to develop the child's self-esteem. So giving importance and of course conscious parenting. So a parent, a very early parent, and especially 21st century parents, we have all grown up seeing our parents, but somewhere down the line, we should have that consciousness, like, try to find out what we need to be the parents, what we wanted to have, and earlier you develop this habit in the kids, and the children will have definitely good confidence to face the world and the people out there. Yes, so early childhood education, according to me, is the best age to start.
Thank you, ma'am. Ms. Vamsheepriya, a school is considered a place where kids are taught uniformity, right? So they're dressed alike, they're taught alike, and all of that. So why do we discriminate between kids? Why do we make them feel different when it comes to their physical appearance? How do you think schools need to overcome this?
Thank you for asking me such a lovely question, and it suits the the forum exactly and the position I hold. See, basically, what happens is it's a human instinct. Generally, with our knowledge or without our knowledge, intentionally or non-intentionally, we end up comparing, be it at home or be it at school. Though we say labeling is not good, invariably when you're teaching or probably questioning or in any kind of interactions, be it a group work or be it a peer work or be it a reciprocative work, generally we say, why can't you do like her? Why don't you follow her? And what is the reason? Why are you not able to work? And so on. That means to say, we are always questioning the child, why aren't you able to do like dash or dash? Instead, our way of questioning, I feel, should be entirely different. I agree, you are coming up with an answer like this, but what makes you think like this? What makes you think what I am thinking? What makes you feel that what you are thinking is right? So basically, a lot of positivity is instilled in a child. And they start thinking for everything I raise in a class or probably answer in a class, there is a question which I need to put for my own self, that is why. Why am I doing it? Why am I thinking this way? In other words, in a corporate way, if I have to put it up, and just like the way my panelist Poornima was talking about, it is general SWOT analysis. Give them the kind of self-evaluation. Yes, there might be a question which arises. Can this self-evaluation start at a very young age? Yes, why not? When we can start addressing each other with emojis on WhatsApp, or maybe on any other platform like a social media on Facebook or Instagram, why shouldn't it begin with their own emojis which they put it up? What are my strengths? Wow, I can do it. And please always revolve around I messages. I can do it, I shall do it, I will do it, I am capable of it, and so on. So the strong I messages will certainly mold the child in the appropriate path, or probably he is able to accept what he knows better, what he needs to better himself in. That is what I feel. The school should really wake up and start investing their thoughts and process in this manner to overcome what is the product which they expect from the child. And discourage any kind of harmful activities. You're not photogenic, you're not tall, so why don't you go stand? As simple as a school photograph, class photograph which is being taken. We have to do that kind of inclusive. I'm sure you could have stood here, but I think I'll have to put a stool or a desk or a table on which you need to stand. Child, that's the reason I'm asking you to move forward. So they know what is a stumble there. They know what is a hurdle there, and they can accommodate with those thoughts rather than you pinpointing and saying you're short, so you need to come front. You're tall, so you need to go behind. You'll be camouflaging the other child. That's the reason, child, I asked you to move back. So they start developing that kind of a respect, possessiveness to the place where they belong to. So that belongingness will help them to have the kind of conducive environment in which they grow, they learn, and that becomes their very effective habitat for learning. This is what I have to say about schools and how they can incorporate. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thanks for your inputs and thanks for that example of the class photograph. So, Ms. Shahista, I'd like to ask you something. The Indian culture talks about respecting elders, but don't you think we need to focus on respecting kids too? Like when you're comparing one child with another, that's disrespecting the child. I'm sure if a child body shamed an adult, it would not be acceptable, right? What are your thoughts on that?
That's a wonderful question. And I must say, in your question, you've pointed out something very crucial as well. We talk about culture in a sense, in terms of our values and our upbringing, right? But I think what we really mean by that is the climate in which all of us have grown up. When we talk about climate, we talk about the feelings and how we react to people around us, and that's the climate. When we talk about culture, it's something that's a lot more consciously done, right? You promote a culture of inclusiveness in your community or within your schools, and this is something that should be done very mindfully. So I agree with you when you say that it is a culture that we must imbibe of inclusivity, which unfortunately does not come very easily for many people. In fact, I would go even to the extent of saying that sometimes parents are ignorant about the fact, they don't really realize how they are reacting in front of their children or what kind of messages they're kind of indirectly giving them. For example, a father and a mother could be talking about, the mom could be asking, how do I look today? And the father might say something as silly as, oh, I don't like your dress, you should go and change it, or you should kind of wear your high heels because you're looking too short, something like that, and then the child's right there thinking, my dad thinks my mom's too short, he. So we don't do that very consciously, and I think that is a culture that we must bring in of inclusivity. And like I initially pointed out, right, we should normalize the fact that people come in different shapes and sizes, and I really like what Vamsi ma'am said about focusing on people's strengths. When you want to really respect a child, there is research now on a lot of research now, which I'm really intrigued about, that has to do with strength psychology. That has to be should be a part of every school environment, where we kind of very early on identify the child with the strengths they possess. Like you could have children who are very good at leadership. You could have children who are very good at problem solving. They're very creative with their solutions. And when we start pointing out those attributes very early on, whether it's early childhood or whether that child is in the second stage of development that we call around the 7 to 8 years of age, you will see a huge impact. The small things like this make a huge impact on how the personality develops. So yes, I agree with you. Respecting elders is a part of our culture, which is consciously done. And I think respecting children should now also become a conscious part of our culture. So thank you for asking me such a lovely question.
Thank you, ma'am. Completely agree with everything you said. Ms. Bharti, could you please tell us, why aren't we teaching kids to love themselves the way we are? The importance of self-love in children. Could you touch upon that, please?
See, for self-love, we need to know our strengths and weaknesses. That's how we will be able to appreciate what we have and also build on what we do not have. Self-love is very important.
Don't you think parents need to focus? I understand obesity would be a sign of concern if a child is obese, but don't you think that the parent or the educator, whoever's dealing with the child, should focus on the importance of being fit rather than the way they look?
That's true. I agree with you 100%. But for teaching self-love, whether we are a parent or a teacher, first we should know self-love. And I feel that is where most of us are lagging behind, because when there is not that much of self-awareness, I would say that much we don't know ourselves, because we also project ourselves the way the environment expects us to be. We are not actually the way we are. We are also molded according to the environment, and we expect the children also to be molded in that manner. So self-love becomes a little difficult thing to teach, I would say. But because now we are aware, this generation is aware, this generation of the teaching community, the educators, the parents, people are aware. So definitely this can be inculcated with a conscious effort. We require conscious parenting and conscious being conscious in everything we do. I feel we all are unique and different, and we should be appreciated for our uniqueness. If we all were the same, think how boring the world will be. We will all be robots then. We will not be you and me. We will not be different. So we should appreciate everyone's uniqueness.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot.
If I may just add one last point, which I would like to highlight here, is that, our children are exposed to a lot of media that plays a very important role in forming their value system, and I don't think we as parents can keep an eye on everything that they watch and everything that they are exposed to a large extent. So I would say the focus of all adults, whether educators or parents, in order to ensure that our children are able to deal with any challenge that comes their way, not just body shaming, is to give them the right skill set to analyze, to understand, to figure out what is right, what is wrong, to believe in themselves is very, very important. And I think everything that has been said in today's discussion by all the eminent educators over here can go a long way in making a difference and providing our children those skill sets. So I do hope that this discussion kind of gives a lot of food for thought for everyone who's listening. And I want to thank the team of Education Today of providing us with the opportunity to voice our thoughts and opinions. So thank you so much for that.
Yeah, and I would also like to add something extra into it, just 2 minutes. So I feel that, the young adults who are going to be parents should be given a proper parenting, because right now we are in a nuclear family, and we have we feel that, technology is everything, and going forward, artificial intelligence is going to take over. So, the humanity and the human touch is somewhere getting lost. So I feel the young parents parents to be, to be correctly motivated by schools, by giving a lot of parenting classes and how to approach the kids from the younger age, and how to, give them the affirmations and the tools which is required to build the positivity in the kids, which will in turn help the parents themselves to improve the positivity. Plus, it will help the younger kids to develop the positivity and see good in others rather than criticizing and
shaming.
others. So I think bringing this parenting workshops and awareness to the parents that there is a certain way you need to react and you should react with the kids can bring in a lot of change.
One last thing, if I may add, Nirmalaji, just a last one thing. We are thinking about the social media. How about the Clinic Plus ad? She comes back, the child comes back home telling that they're calling me Choti. But the mom stuffs so much of positivity in her that next day that builds as a pride to walk in the corridor of the school. I think even social media is trying to do a lot when it comes to value education, life skills like this, because you, Madam mentioned just now, we had Bharti ma'am who mentioned about self-awareness. Self-awareness is one of the parts of the life skills of 21st century skills. So that is very important. So give them a lot of interpersonal skills, intrapersonal skills, effective communication, collaborative, critical thinking, and all of this can happen if the entire community, the neighborhood, and where the child is groomed is hand-holding the child. As I gave you an example of Clinic Plus. And one more thing, because it's a COVID scenario, the father is so busy on the laptop and the child says, there's nobody to play with me. But finally they indulge playing and they're least bit bothered about the circumstances. Ye to chalta hai. That is the thing, and that is really striking. Anybody, be it a small kid or the older ones at home, when they watch that kind of advertisements, I think we are all carried away. That acts as an extrinsic motivation as well as intrinsic inspiration, right? Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you all for your inputs today. This was a lovely discussion. Very insightful. Thank you. And with that, we come to the end of this interesting panel discussion where we learned so much about the long-term repercussions of body shaming on a child and the importance of inculcating body positivity at a young age itself. Due to time constraints, we could only take a few questions, but if you have any additional queries on the topic, do get in touch with us and we'll be glad to take them offline. For more such videos, do log on to our website, theemn.com, and don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Signing off, Nitya.